It was a golden morning in the lakeside community of Maple Falls Estates, a place where appearances meant everything and reputations meant more than truth. Residents jogged in name-brand gear, waved at each other with forced smiles, and gossiped in hushed tones at community barbecues. That morning, Malik Bennett, a tall, quiet man in his early 40s, backed his modest fishing boat down the private drive to the community dock. He moved with calm precision, the kind of man who didn't waste words or actions. Before he could step in his boat, a white Lexus SUV skidded to a stop. Out jumped a woman in tennis whites and an HOA badge clipped to her visor. "Excuse me," she called out sharply. "This dock is private. You can't park here." Malik turned, expression calm. "Good morning. I'm Stephanie Rowland, president of the Maple Falls HOA," she said, puffing her chest. "And I don't recognize you, or that boat." Malik folded his arms. "I'm not part of the HOA." Her eyes narrowed. "Then you need to leave, or I'll call security." A few onlookers paused, listening. Malik reached into his truck and pulled out a legal folder. He handed it to her. "I own the lake," he said. Stephanie laughed, until she looked down at the documents, and stopped laughing. Malik Bennett was raised on the south side of Birmingham, Alabama. His parents, Ernest and Naomi Bennett, were humble but proud people. Ernest had worked in auto manufacturing, while Naomi ran a neighborhood bakery. Malik's grandfather, Reverend Clarence Bennett, was a civil rights activist who once led peaceful protests outside lakes and parks where black families were denied entry. Malik grew up with stories of exclusion, pain, and hope. He graduated from Howard University, studied urban development, and made his fortune building community housing in neglected southern towns. Years ago, he quietly purchased the land and lake that Maple Falls HOA leased, right after the original developer defaulted on payments. He never sought praise, until they pushed him too far. Stephanie Rowland had lived in Maple Falls for 8 years. A former interior decorator turned community advocate, she saw herself as the gatekeeper of standards. She watched everything, mailboxes, lawns, guests, and she watched Malik with suspicion the moment she saw him step onto her dock. She called an emergency HOA board meeting, citing unauthorized use of shared resources. She filed a complaint with the leasing office, even tried to pressure other residents into signing a petition to ban Malik from accessing the lake. But what Stephanie didn't know was that her entire HOA's lake access was contingent on one man's continued permission. And that man had just been insulted. Malik returned to the lake the following week. But his boat had been defaced, smeared with spray paint, slashed tires, and a racist note taped to the windshield. He stood silently for a long time, fists clenched at his sides. He didn't retaliate. Not yet. He checked the community cameras. The footage showed Brad Rowland, Stephanie's husband, approaching Malik's boat late at night with a can of paint and a crowbar. Malik didn't go to the police. He went to his lawyers. A week later, residents found leaflets on their doors, community meeting. Important updates about Maple Falls Lake. Curious, over 100 residents showed up to the clearing near the dock. Malik stood on a small platform. "My name is Malik Bennett," he began, "and I am the legal owner of this lake and the surrounding shoreline." The crowd murmured. "I have allowed the HOA to lease access to this lake for the past 5 years. But recent events, including vandalism and harassment, have forced me to reconsider that arrangement." He clicked a remote. On screen appeared footage of Brad Rowland defacing Malik's boat. Gasps. "And per the terms of the lease agreement, I have every right to revoke access." Silence. Stephanie's face drained of color. Stephanie struck back. She filed a lawsuit challenging Malik's ownership and claiming the HOA had established rights through extended use. But Malik was ready. His legal team brought out ironclad deeds, land use contracts, surveillance footage, and dated HOA signatures. During cross-examination, Stephanie was caught lying about prior incidents. The judge ruled swiftly. "Mr. Bennett holds the sole legal ownership of Maple Falls Lake," the judge said. "The HOA has violated lease terms and harassed the landowner. Effective immediately, lake access is terminated." Cheers broke out in the courtroom, except from the Rowlands. With the court decision public, more secrets emerged. residents discovered that Stephanie had been using HOA funds to renovate her home under the guise of lakefront safety improvements. She had also denied applications from minority families under suspicious claims of zoning conflicts. An anonymous letter published in the town paper outlined years of quiet discrimination. The community turned on her. A vote was held. Stephanie was removed as HOA president in a 97% majority. Malik? He was asked to take her place. He declined. "I'm not here to rule," he said, "just to make sure people are treated right." Malik issued new lake policies. Use was now open to all residents, regardless of HOA membership, income, or background. But users had to sign a code of conduct agreement. He introduced youth education programs, fishing clinics, and a summer reading corner by the water funded by his family foundation. The once exclusive dock became a gathering place for every family. The Rowlands? They sold their house and quietly moved away. Malik never spoke of them again. He didn't need to. Malik's father, Ernest, visited the lake one afternoon, sitting beside his son on the new cedar benches overlooking the water. "This was your grandfather's dream," Ernest said. "I know," Malik replied. "He never got to fish in places like this. Now his grandson owns it." They sat in silence, watching a black boy teach a white girl how to bait a hook, laughing like old friends. It was a moment neither man would forget. Malik stood near the water as the community gathered for the first annual Clarence Bennett Memorial Fish Fry. There was music, dancing, laughter. Families of every background broke bread. A woman approached him, tears in her eyes. "My son used to be afraid to come here," she said. "Now he feels like he belongs." Malik smiled. "That's all I ever wanted." The camera pulled back slowly over the crowd, the lake, and the homes lining the hills. A place once built on exclusion was now a haven of unity. And all because one man stood his ground.